He pointed a gun at her face. My daughter, calm as stone, staring down a man twice her size. The self-appointed HOA cop thought his shiny badge made him powerful. What he didn't know, the woman he was threatening used to train Navy SEALs. That night, his arrogance met its reckoning. My name's Michael Daniels. After losing my wife 3 years ago, I retired from my engineering job and moved into a quiet gated neighborhood called Maple Ridge Estates. My daughter, Elena, 32, disciplined with the patience of a saint, had just returned from service as a Navy SEAL combat trainer. We were hoping for peace. Fresh start, friendly neighbors, quiet evenings. The community looked perfect. Manicured lawns, neat sidewalks, and an HOA that promised safety and order. That's where we met Rick Dalton, the so-called HOA security chief. He wore black cargo pants, mirrored shades, and a chest rig like he was guarding the Pentagon. His partner, Raymond Steele, the HOA president, fed his ego, called him officer, handed him a radio, even let him patrol with a sidearm. Elena mostly ignored him. She'd seen real soldiers, men who didn't need to puff their chests to feel important. But Rick, he barked at dog walkers, flashed his fake badge, and lectured kids about neighborhood discipline. When Elena parked slightly over the white line one afternoon, Rick slapped a citation on her windshield with the confidence of a man writing federal law. She smiled, crumpled it, and said nothing. I should have known silence from her meant something was building. It was a Thursday evening. I was on the porch fixing a flickering light when I heard shouting near the entrance gate. Tires screeched, and a flashlight beam danced across the street. Elena's car had stopped at the checkpoint. Rick stood in front of it, palm out, yelling, "Turn off the engine! Step out of the vehicle!" Elena rolled down her window, calm as ever. "Rick, I live here." She held up her keycard. He shook his head. "Fake. Residents don't drive this late." She frowned, confused but polite. "You've seen me 100 times." Rick's voice rose. "Step out of the vehicle." He unlatched the strap on his holster. I dropped my wrench and sprinted toward them. "Hey, what are you doing?" Rick ignored me, hand trembling on his weapon. "Sir, stay back. She's resisting HOA security protocol." Elena got out slowly, both hands visible. "You don't want to do this, Rick." Her tone changed, soft, but commanding. The kind that makes even chaos pause. "Hands where I can see them," he barked, drawing the gun fully. For a second, time stopped. Porch lights flickered on up and down the street. Neighbors whispered from behind curtains. Then came her voice, low, steady. "You're scared. I can see it in your grip. Lower the weapon. Before you make a mistake you can't undo." Rick hesitated. The flashlight quivered. And just then, red and blue lights flooded the street. Police cruisers. The lead officer stepped out, hand on his belt. "Rick Dalton? You reported an intruder." Rick pointed. "She's trespassing." The officer's eyes landed on Elena and widened. "Commander Daniels?" Rick blinked. "Commander what?" Elena simply crossed her arms. The officer exhaled, almost amused. "Rick, you just aimed a weapon at a decorated Navy SEAL trainer." Silence. Rick's gun sagged at his side. I could hear my own heartbeat. The next morning, the HOA meeting room buzzed like a hornet's nest. Raymond stood at the podium, smiling too wide. "Let's all calm down," he said. "Last night was an unfortunate misunderstanding." "Unfortunate?" My daughter had a gun pointed at her face. Elena sat quietly in the back row, sunglasses hiding her eyes. Rick strutted in late, wearing his badge like a shield. Raymond praised his dedication to community safety. People clapped half-heartedly. I clenched my fists. Afterward, I asked Elena why she didn't speak up. She just said, "I'm not done watching yet." Days later, Rick doubled down, flooding us with fake citations, improper lawn edging, unauthorized vehicle tint. It was ridiculous, but Elena never reacted. She spent evenings on her laptop, cross-referencing HOA budgets, payment records, and public databases. One night, she called me over. "Dad, Look at this. Security contractor payments every month. To Rick's personal account. She leaned back, eyes cold. They're laundering HOA funds to pay his fake job. Her calm was almost eerie. He pulled a gun once. Let's see what happens when the real law looks his way. Elena met with Officer Davis, the cop who recognized her that night. He was furious when he saw the report. I told command what happened, but the HOA claims it was handled internally, he said. She slid him a folder, photos, timestamps, and HOA budget logs. Then maybe they'll handle this. They discovered the HOA wasn't licensed for private security. Rick's firearm registration had expired 3 years ago. Worse, the HOA's insurance didn't cover armed patrols. Every homeowner was legally at risk. Elena installed small cameras facing the main gate. Within 2 nights, she caught Rick yelling at residents, waving his gun like a toy. In one clip, he barked at a teenager. "You talk back again, and I'll cuff you myself." Elena's jaw tightened. That's enough. She compiled everything, video, audio, invoices, and sent an anonymous file to local law enforcement and the state licensing board. But she didn't stop there. She wanted the HOA to face itself first. At dinner, I asked if she was scared of retaliation. She smiled. "Dad, I've taught men how to disarm terrorists underwater. A bully with a clipboard doesn't make the list." Still, she prepared carefully. Backup drives, a plan, a calmness that told me the storm hadn't even started. A week later, a notice slid under every door. Emergency HOA meeting, mandatory attendance. When we arrived, the clubhouse was packed. Neighbors whispered. Rick stood at the door, arms folded, gun visible. Raymond took the mic. "We've received complaints about misinformation spreading in our community. Tonight we'll restore order." He smirked at Elena. She didn't move, just walked to the projector, plugged in a flash drive, and pressed play. The first video showed Rick screaming at a resident, shoving his hand onto his weapon. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Then the second clip appeared, Rick aiming his gun at her. The room froze. Rick lunged forward. "Turn that off." Elena didn't flinch. "You wanted order, Rick. Here's accountability." Raymond slammed his gavel. "This meeting is over." Before he could speak again, the clubhouse doors opened. Officer Davis walked in with 2 deputies. "Actually, it's just getting started." He held up a warrant. "Rick Dalton, you're under arrest for assault, impersonating an officer, and illegal possession of a firearm." Rick's face drained of color. He spun toward Elena, furious, and lunged. It happened fast. She sidestepped, twisted his wrist, and the gun clattered to the floor. In 2 seconds flat, he was pinned, face down, her knee on his shoulder. No struggle, no anger, just precision. Gasps, applause, disbelief. Officer Davis moved in, cuffed him, then turned to Raymond. "Mr. Steele, you're coming too. Fraud and misappropriation of funds." Raymond stuttered. This is a mistake." Elena unplugged her drive, pocketed it, and said quietly, "No, the mistake was thinking power means control." As they were led away, neighbors began clapping, soft at first, then loud, united. Michael's narration voiceover that night. The HOA didn't just lose 2 bullies. It gained back its voice. In the weeks that followed, Maple Ridge Estates changed. The HOA board was dissolved, replaced by residents who actually cared. The bylaws were rewritten, no more fake security, no more hidden fees. Rick faced charges for impersonating an officer and assault with a deadly weapon. Raymond was fined and banned from serving on any HOA board again. Elena never boasted about it. She just went back to morning jogs and evening tea with me on the porch. One afternoon, a neighbor named Linda came by with cookies. "Your daughter saved us all," she said. Elena smiled politely. "You all saved yourselves. You just needed proof you could." Later, I asked her, "You never once raised your voice. How?" She sipped her coffee, eyes on the horizon. "When you've trained soldiers, Dad, you learn yelling doesn't control chaos. Calm does." I looked at her, the quiet strength, the discipline, and realized peace doesn't come from silence. It comes from people like her, who know when to act and when to wait. The neighborhood now laughs about the HOA cop fiasco. But every time I pass that gate, I remember the night courage stood still while arrogance shook. Some people think power comes from shouting louder or flashing authority. But real power? It's calm. It's trained. It's knowing when not to pull the trigger. That night, a man with a gun tried to scare my daughter. Instead, he learned what real discipline looks like. Because fear shouts, ego threatens, but strength, true strength, stays silent until it's time to strike. If you ever meet someone who doesn't rise to your anger, don't mistake their silence for weakness. They're not scared. They're just trained for storms.